Here is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. Motivation is not a force you can rely on. It is a mood, and moods do not keep promises. If you stay with me, you will leave with something more durable than inspiration. You will understand why discipline outlives motivation, how to build it without turning your life into a harsh routine, and how a Stoic way of seeing control, fear, and meaning can make you steady in a world that keeps changing. We were taught to wait for the feeling, the surge, the moment when the body feels light and the mind feels certain. But much of life is lived without that moment. And if you only move when you feel ready, you will spend years negotiating with yourself, calling it planning, when it is often avoidance wearing a clean suit. The hard truth is simple. Motivation makes a beautiful beginning, but it makes a poor foundation. It arrives loudly, then leaves quietly. The danger is not that it disappears. The danger is that you confuse its absence with a sign you should stop. Consider the Stoic idea that freedom is not the ability to do what you want. It is the ability to do what you must, even when you do not want to. Not because you are cold or mechanical, but because you have chosen your values and you do not let your nervous system vote on them every morning. Discipline, at its best, is not punishment. It is allegiance. Here is the reversal most people miss. The opposite of motivation is not laziness. The opposite of motivation is dependence. When you need to feel a certain way in order to act, your emotions become your ruler. You are governed by weather. Think of someone who says they want to get healthy. They wait for motivation to cook, motivation to walk, motivation to sleep early. But evening comes, the day has been heavy, the mind is crowded, and motivation does what it always does. It negotiates. It suggests tomorrow. Discipline does not argue with tomorrow, because discipline is not a mood. It is a decision that has been made in advance. The hard truth, most people do not fail because they lack talent. They fail because they cannot tolerate being uncomfortable for longer than a moment. They do not lose to the task. They lose to the sensation of the task. A Stoic would say, "You are not disturbed by the work. You are disturbed by your judgment about the work." The mind labels effort as humiliation, pain as danger, and repetition as meaninglessness. But effort can be dignity, pain can be information, repetition can be devotion. Another reversal. Discipline is not the cage. It is the key. It does not reduce your freedom. It creates it. The person who writes each day is free from the tyranny of last-minute panic. The person who trains consistently is free from the fear that their body is quietly betraying them. The person who saves a little each month is free from the constant background anxiety of financial fragility. Discipline is what turns the future from a threat into a place you can walk toward with a straight spine. Look at modern life. It is designed to fracture attention and to reward impulse. Your phone does not want your peace, it wants your reflex. Endless content trains you to follow the easiest desire, the quickest relief, the nearest escape. In that environment, motivation becomes even less reliable because you have trained your mind to expect immediate reward for minimal effort. When real work asks for patience, the mind feels offended. The hard truth, anxiety often isn't a mystery. It is an unpaid debt. It is the emotional interest you pay on avoided responsibilities. You can medicate it with distraction for a while, but the bill returns with sharper edges. So let us deepen the reflection. Stoicism does not tell you to feel nothing. It tells you not to be mastered by what you feel. Fear will show up. Doubt will show up. Boredom will show up. Discipline is the quiet practice of acting with fear in the room, of keeping your word while your mind offers excuses dressed as reasons. Here's a practical example that is almost too ordinary to respect, and that is why it matters. Imagine you decide to read 10 pages each night, not because it is dramatic, but because it is steady. The first night you are inspired, the second night you are tired, the third night you are restless. Discipline is the choice to read anyway, not with violence, but with calm firmness. And a month later, you are no longer trying to become someone who reads. You are someone who reads. Identity grows out of repeated action, not repeated intention. Another conceptual shift. Motivation is often the reward, not the requirement. People think they must feel motivated to begin, but frequently, the feeling comes after the first step. The mind does not hand you energy as a gift. It hands you energy as a response. Action produces clarity. Movement produces willingness. Discipline is the spark that allows motivation to appear later, like warmth that comes after you light the fire. The hard truth: if you only act when you feel confident, you will never do anything that truly expands you. Confidence is not the ticket, it is the souvenir. And now, consider failure. Most people treat failure as a verdict on who they are. The Stoic treats it as data about what happened. Failure is not a moral stain. It is a teacher with a blunt voice. Discipline changes your relationship with failure because it makes your progress measurable and repeatable. When you miss a day, you do not fall into shame. You return to the practice. You correct the course as a sailor does, without drama. Picture someone learning a skill in public: speaking, building a business, making art, applying for a difficult job. Motivation will demand applause. Discipline will accept silence. The disciplined person does not need constant evidence that they are special. They need only the quiet knowledge that they are improving. And improvement is rarely glamorous. It is mostly repetition and humility. Here is the reversal that can change a life. Your feelings do not deserve to be your leaders. They deserve to be your guests. Listen to them, learn from them, but do not hand them the keys. Before we move deeper, a brief invitation. If this way of thinking speaks to you, subscribe to the channel and leave a thoughtful comment about one discipline you want to strengthen. Not to impress anyone, but to clarify it for yourself. The act of naming it can be the first act of keeping it. Now we go further, because discipline is often misunderstood. People hear the word and imagine severity, self-denial, a life drained of joy. But discipline is not the art of making yourself miserable. It is the art of making your life trustworthy. The hard truth: you cannot build inner peace on top of inner chaos. You can call it spontaneity. You can call it freedom. You can call it following your heart. But if your days are ruled by impulse, your mind will eventually feel unsafe with you. A mind does not relax when it lives with someone unreliable, even if that someone is you. Stoic wisdom begins with a clean distinction: what is up to you and what is not. Your effort is up to you. Your attention is up to you. Your honesty is up to you. The outcome is never fully up to you. Motivation is often obsessed with outcomes because it loves images of a finished life: the transformed body, the successful work, the admired identity. Discipline is faithful to what is truly yours, the next right action. Here's the reversal. The person who waits for motivation is secretly trying to control outcomes. They want to guarantee that their effort will pay off before they invest it. Discipline accepts uncertainty as the price of a meaningful life. It acts without guarantees. Consider how this applies to pain. Pain is one of life's great editors. It removes fantasy. It forces a decision. Will you become bitter or will you become precise? Discipline does not eliminate pain. It gives pain a place. It says you can be here, but you cannot be in charge. Think of the modern example of someone trying to change their relationship with food, alcohol, or screens. Motivation makes declarations. It says, from now on, I will never. Discipline makes environments. It moves the phone out of the bedroom. It prepares meals that do not require heroic willpower at 9 p.m. It chooses friction in advance, so that the easiest path is not the worst one. This is not weakness. This is intelligence. The Stoics understood that character is trained, not wished into existence. The hard truth: willpower is not a limitless resource. If your plan requires you to win a battle in your mind 10 times a day, you will eventually lose. Discipline is not constant fighting. It is designing a life where fewer fights are required. A deeper reflection: discipline is a form of self-respect that does not need an audience. In a culture that performs everything, discipline is quietly radical because it is private. No one applauds the moment you close a laptop and go to sleep on time. No one praises the moment you tell the truth instead of shaping it to be liked. And yet those moments are where your life is decided. Another reversal: discipline is not the opposite of pleasure. It is the condition for higher pleasures. There is a shallow pleasure that asks nothing and leaves you emptier. And there is a deep pleasure that costs something and leaves you stronger. The first is easy relief. The second is earned peace. Discipline teaches you to prefer the peace that lasts over the relief that fades. Now consider control again, because this is where anxiety and meaning meet. Many people suffer not because life is unbearable, but because they keep trying to control what cannot be controlled. Other people's approval, the timing of success, the absence of trouble. Discipline shifts your focus back to the domain where your power is real. It returns you to the small, sovereign territory of your own choices. A modern example: you send an important email, submit an application, publish your work, or confess your feelings. Motivation wants certainty. They must respond. It must go well. Discipline says, I will do my part with care. Then it releases the rest. This release is not indifference. It is maturity, and it is one of the most direct paths to inner calm. The hard truth: the need to be seen as successful can destroy the chance to become competent. If you are always managing your image, you will avoid the beginner's humility, the awkwardness, the slow learning that real mastery demands. Discipline is willing to look ordinary while becoming formidable. A deeper reflection: meaning is not found in intensity, it is found in continuity. Many people chase peak experiences because their ordinary days feel hollow. Discipline fills the ordinary with structure, and structure can become sanctuary. When you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you create a quiet dignity. Over time, that dignity becomes meaning. Another reversal: discipline does not require you to be harsh. It requires you to be honest. If you fall short, you do not need self-hatred to improve. You need accurate self-observation. The Stoic spirit is firm but not cruel. It corrects without contempt. And now let us speak about freedom one last time. There is a freedom that is simply the absence of constraints. It feels good for a moment, and then it becomes a trap, because you become constrained by whatever you crave. Then there is a deeper freedom, the ability to choose your actions in alignment with your values, regardless of your cravings. Discipline is the bridge to that freedom. Picture two lives. In one, you follow motivation. On good days you act, on bad days you drift. Your progress is accidental, your moods are destiny. In the other, you follow discipline, not rigidly, not obsessively, but faithfully. You do not become a machine, you become a person who can be trusted by their own future. The hard truth: life will not become easier because you finally feel ready. It becomes easier because you finally become consistent. The deepest reflection is also the simplest. There will be mornings when you do not believe in yourself. There will be evenings when your mind speaks in tired, persuasive voices. Discipline is not the act of silencing those voices. It is the act of not obeying them. So if you want a practice to carry with you, let it be this. Decide what is essential. Make it small enough to be done even on a difficult day, and then do it with calm seriousness. Not to prove anything, not to win admiration, but to become steady. The world is full of people who feel deeply and drift. There are fewer who feel deeply and still move. In the end, motivation asks, "How do I feel?" Discipline asks, "Who am I?" And when the day comes that motivation does not arrive, and it will, discipline will already be there, quiet and unglamorous, like a lantern in a storm. You will not always be inspired, but you can always be faithful.